Hello and welcome to the Hypertrophy Odyssey, chapter 365. It is the first day of the week, aka the Kamehameha workout. I'm feeling very good right now, very excited for this workout. But anyways, back to the main subject matter for today. Men would rather date a loser than a woman who is a strong, independent woman who don't need no man. Now, obviously, I've probably shortened that title in the thumbnail, in the YouTube video, because obviously that's a little too long. But anyways, the main reason why I want to discuss this is because in a video right here, I talk about how I thank God I'm not single in today's modern society of dating, because it sucks. But I saw this post, hopefully I have it up right here, on X not that long ago, about the fact that men would rather have just date a loser than some girl that's like trying super hard in their career. And I guess I just want to look at that and the honest truth to that. I think that it's become more and more and more of a thing as I've slowly progressed or seen things develop throughout the world, really. And just to put it on the other side's perspective, not to say that women wouldn't want to date a loser dude, because some of them do, but that's a whole other story. I think that if a woman had to choose between having a job and having to do work for a career, all that, or be able to stay at home and just chill out, I think a lot of them would take the staying at home and chilling out part. I think that, I might be wrong on that. I personally, but if I got to choose, have somebody else go make money for me or a guy go make money myself, it's just me thinking about it, but the roles reverse doesn't work. See this video about that. But still, even then, if I was, let's say, in a similar position in that case. But I think that there is more to be said about the entire idea of what a loser is and how it doesn't necessarily translate for someone like a woman versus a man, where it's two completely different gender roles, really. And the loser woman is not really a loser. So with that being said, we'll talk more about a lot of this stuff and get into all the details when we get to Mother Base. All right, so first started this day off with dips, which were pretty good. But anyway, back to the main subject matter for today. A man would rather be with a loser woman than a overly successful woman. So the main reason why I want to discuss this is because, well, one, I've seen this become more and more of a topic that's brought up, especially when the entire idea of what is brought to the table comes up in conversation, especially when it comes to dating nowadays, because that's all that people think about are things that they can bring to the table, of course, because it's all transactional, but that's a different story for a different day. But before we continue on, I wanted to discuss this because this kind of is a multi-parter episode in a certain way, but I wanted to discuss this. First, what constitutes a loser? First, we're going to look at the dictionary definition. Loser, noun, a person or thing that loses, especially consistently. 2, a person who is incompetent or unable to exceed. Also, something doomed to fail or disappoint. So the main reason why I wanted to discuss that is because the loser in this case is a little bit of a different animal inherently when it comes to men and women. Both parties can have losers in them, but inherently speaking, certain parties do have the benefit of the doubt, women, to get away from the loser sensibilities. And that is because inherently, age-wise, they have a slight advantage to men, if that makes any sense. So the main reason why I say loser in this context is because loser represents the idea that they aren't necessarily successful in life, quote unquote, but the standards of what is successful is seen through what is success through the eyes of a man. Successful in the terms of a woman is a little different, and it should be different, but for some reason a lot of women see this as the same terms. So thus, if they see the woman as a loser, quote unquote, it's just a woman doing the things that a loser man would do, but in reality that's not how it would work at all, because in theory she could be doing everything that a quote loser man is doing, but because if biology is on her side, aka she's young enough, she still has an inherent value to her. So thus,
it makes it so that even though she quote unquote is a loser, quote unquote, it's not really. And looking at it from the lens of men is really what people need to realize that they're doing whenever they discuss the idea of it. If anything, a woman loser, quote unquote, would just be a woman that's over the age of 35 and or doing nothing with their life, with the biological time bomb that has exploded in their womb, aka the empty eggs. So thus they're kind of screwed over. Obviously, these women do exist. They are there. They are some people that are part of the society, unfortunately. But unfortunately as well, there's not much you can do for them. This application that I'm talking about in this entire episode about men wanting loser women is obviously capped with the ideal that, yes, she might not be able to do anything or isn't necessarily that proficient in the scope of men things, but that doesn't necessarily mean she isn't successful in the scope of women's successes. And I'm going with the traditional gender roles when I'm talking about this, because a lot of people for some reason forget that that's what the main point of it all is, really. We always see everything for women as the male. I don't think we do. I think women do, and that's the main issue. And that's why men do not give a fuck if you are in a high-end job doing a bunch of shit like that, successful, living on your own, all that other shit. And you see these women, videos of these women who end up getting into these long-ass rants of, what is this guy gonna do for me that I can't do for myself? Bitch, that's not the point. The entire point of a relationship is to meld your lives together, to make it so you can grow together. Don't be an ignorant idiot just because you think that you're seeing the lens of success through the male gaze from your own self, so you're looking in a weird mirror that's like perpetually going up, but not realizing you're not successful in the male gaze for a woman. Jesus Christ. It's very interesting that we cannot separate the two. It's like the stupid idea of what a quote unquote alpha female is, because at the end of the day, that doesn't exist. That cannot exist for the simple fact women are viewing it through the lens of what a man would be judging another man from, and that is not accurate at all. That's impossible. We are two completely different sexes. To try to separate the two or try to take over the two would mean the disaster that's already happening in current society. But for some reason, they just can't see it. That's why I say men would love to date a quote loser in comparison. In the eyes of a man, a quote loser woman isn't necessarily a loser. It is in the sense of you're looking at it through the quote male ideal, which is what you would want there, right? That's what a lot of women end up doing. And it sucks because everything kind of ends up becoming this. It's like a weird thing where for some reason women want to be separated from what men are doing and all this other stuff. They want their own power, but not realizing that the backbone structures of these things were based on what other men are doing. So thus, you're never really leaving it. And that's why I wanted to discuss this, because it's very interesting to me that for some reason they just completely forgot about this and just bankrupted all of the entire idea of womanhood and just thrown it to the side, not realizing that, hey, a lot of the shit that men want from a relationship is pretty fucking simple. And also a lot of women can do it, but choose not to because they've been lied to for some weird reason. Well, actually, there isn't a weird reason. We'll get to the propaganda on some other episode.
And we're back. Welcome to the workout debriefing. Exercises not filmed, none. Exercises skipped, also none. Got everything in, thankfully. Ultra tired right now, so I'm going to try to do this part quick. The main reason why I wanted to talk about this today was because, like I said before, I had done a video about just modern dating and stuff. And I think a lot of people overcomplicate it with, particularly on the women's side, as the entire, they overthink too much of what do you bring to the table and all that for a man. When in reality, if you talk to like a good chunk of dudes, let's say like 60%, 60 to 80% of dudes, if you don't bring anything to the table but pure dedication and make reassurance that, hey, I believe in whatever you're doing, That's probably the most important thing that you could probably ever say to a dude. 1000%. You will get a man that is loyal to you to the end of times with some shit like that. And it's very simple. But yet for some reason, lost in translation of all this bullshit of you have to do this, you have to do that, and all that other stuff, it's just a partner that's willing to stick around through thick and thin to make sure that, hey, I don't care what's happening in your life. I'm there for you and you alone. And that's it. That's literally it. You could bring maybe a couple other little things that aren't necessarily have to be great, but you can learn everything. You know, it's not like it's too far-fetched to do other things, but I think a lot of people always just kind of overcomplicate it. Now, obviously, there are a bunch of shit that we have to go through and, complications and all that. But really, most dudes would be very okay with a girl that's not really doing much, not really doing anything, maybe cooks occasionally, cleans occasionally, and just believes that the man will be the man. That's it. And believes 100% in that. And that's so little. It's crazy to me that seems like such a monumental task for certain people, but yet that's all most dudes would want. I don't think that most people would even be like against that. I think that should be like the baseline. I don't understand why that's not being told to more people. It's just believe in your partner, but more so if you're a woman, just believe in your man. That's it. That's all you want. Like, I don't understand. It's very strange to me that lost in all of this, all of the social media storms of like getting better and more luxuries and more things, is simple like human connections and things like that. Being able to look at somebody else and think, I'm doing this for that person because they are there for me at all times. And you can see this with a lot of successful relationships where the people have started from the bottom all the way to the top. Pierce Brosnan is a perfect example. And that's a whole other story, but that has to do with chubby chases. We'll talk about that later. But anyways, because the main point that I'm trying to make is that sometimes the simplest thing is literally all you need. So you don't have to worry about having 6 figures or having a bunch of money or being an independent woman or doing all this shit. No dude gives a fuck about that. It probably makes it honestly worse, because realistically, if you bring all that but don't care about him, then what the fuck are you bringing? At the end of the day, he can bring all this shit to himself. And I think that I think that's the main thing, is that if you care about him enough and he cares about you, he will do anything that you want him to do in order to make sure that he gets better in life. Maybe that's making himself better, It's very weird that the baseline emotion of just support is just lost. I don't understand it. I don't know. Maybe video games got it correct, but hey, it's a whole other story for a whole other day as well. But with that being said, though, tell me what you think in the comment section down below. I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about this one. Kind of random, but in the same vein of videos that I normally do. But please let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video with anybody who may or may not like it. I will be back on tomorrow with a new video. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I will see you in the next one. Keep it heavy, stay safe out there, and stay cool. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace!